to me, the top two teams in the NFC are the 49ers and the Rams. And I think the Rams have a good chance to get back to the Super Bowl next year.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dorm Debate Podcast. It's over. The NFL season is over. Super Bowl is done, and we have no football until August, guys. How are we going to survive?
Well, we're going to have to hibernate or something.
Yeah, after this podcast, we go back in our cocoons, and then you'll see us in a few months.
We're done here. That's it. That's all we're doing. No, I mean, I heard there's the AFL is being released in July.
That'll
so
be
we do have some sort of competitive football to watch. Hopefully it lasts longer than the XFL and the Alliance League.
Yeah.
So I want to give a special shout out. So obviously, if you watch the Super Bowl, the Bengals lost. And as you may know, Chris Evans, I wear his jersey all the time. And he actually, some people said that he wouldn't play. He played. He was the kickoff returner, didn't get to return a kick, but he had a crucial third down catch conversion, which we were so pumped for. I literally, I was sitting on the couch and I'm like looking at my phone and I kind of glance up because John had texted and he said like Evans. So as I glanced up, because John's freaking in the future and has great cable. I don't know why mine's always delayed.
It beats us, yeah.
And like as I look up from that text, I see Evans catch like across the sideline, and I just go, Evans.
Yeah. You know that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like pointing at the himself on the screen.
Yes. He looks at it's like Evans, Chris Evans.
Yeah, I was like, I was so, and it was a great like clutch. Like they really needed that. It was towards the end of the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Critical. It wasn't just some random. Every third down's important, but that one was like, that to see Burrow go to him in that moment. It was a. So I know, and like you're saying, Jared, I'm gutted for Evans and the Bengals overall. Like really, I wanted them to win, but
it's unfortunate. There's a couple of things that I want to say. Samaje Perine should not have been in on that third down run, and I'll go into that.
I'm a little surprised by that.
I just want to, retire this jersey. I won't be wearing it for a while. But this was our good luck charm. Chris Evans, unbelievable work this year. Went from 5th or 6th round pick to 3rd string, making the team, to having 2 touchdowns this year, to be able to go to the Super Bowl, have a catch on a crucial third down in the Super Bowl. And he was on this podcast. Absolutely insane. Hopefully we get to have him back. I don't want to, hound him too much. I want to give him a little bit of an off-season, little break because he deserves it. But let's go into the Super Bowl. So I have a couple stats that are pretty cool. It's from a website called RamWire, and it says that there's a lot. So the one main storyline was the defensive line for the Rams and the offensive line for the Bengals. And that was just completely exploited. They had a record 7 sacks in the Super Bowl. That ties somebody else for the Super Bowl record. Then you go into the first team in history to win 3 playoff games by 3 points or fewer. So the Rams were just always in clutch moments. And, John, who has the best fourth quarter QBR?
Matt Stafford.
Every time you texted that to us, he came out and won the game every single time. So it's just in his blood that he comes back from these. Speaking of Stafford, he had 50 touchdown passes this season. That ties Tom Brady for the most passing touchdowns by a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I didn't think he had that many touchdowns.
As well, he's the first quarterback to throw 3 touchdowns and not win the Super Bowl MVP. But I would say that Cooper Kupp is probably deserving of that. He tore up the...
Yeah, I would say I'm fine with them giving it to Kupp.
Yeah. Andrew Whitworth, at 40 years old, is the oldest player to win his first Super Bowl.
Oh, wow.
Oh, he's also the oldest active, too. I was going to mention that in the last podcast.
Currently.
After the moment Brady retired, he was the oldest.
Yeah, and then he'll probably be for 2 more weeks, and then he's going to retire. And then Sean McVay, obviously youngest coach to win the Super Bowl. And Rams had the highest pass rush win rate of any team this season. So that just shows how dominant that pass rush was. Aaron Donald had 2 sacks on the game. And there was a little storyline before the game started. The sideline reporter said if Aaron Donald won the Super Bowl, won this game, that he would think about retirement. And for me, I was just totally caught off guard by that. I was shocked because he's in his prime right now. He's won, I think, 3 defensive year awards. Now he's got a Super Bowl ring, and now he's thinking about retirement. It makes me think, like, what more does he have to do in the game as, a defensive tackle, except just break more records. But besides all those stats, let's just get into our initial reactions. So obviously Caleb, Jonathan, who's not on the podcast here, but he also had the Rams winning. I was the only one that had the Bengals winning, and they were winning for so long. The very last second, just like the 49ers game, and Stafford and Cooper Kupp just go down the field. It's like there's a switch that goes off for McVay, and he's like, hang on, I have Cooper Kupp, and no one can stop him. So I'm just going to keep going to him, no matter whether he's double teamed or triple teamed. I'm just going to keep going to him. John, you've said that that's like a narrative throughout this whole playoff, is just these teams are not focusing on Kupp in crucial moments. They leave him one-on-one, just like the last touchdown pass to Cooper Kupp. It's a one-on-one on Eli Apple. Like, why does this happen time and time again? Nobody learns.
Right. I know. And you got to give the Rams credit because Higbee wasn't there. And the backup tight end Blanton, who was getting playing time against the Bucks and then against the 49ers, he had some shoulder harness on, so he didn't play. So you had this third string guy, Hopkins. And then obviously Odell tears his ACL, or what they think is a torn ACL, and he's out. So now you basically got the third string, which is Hopkins. You got the guy Skoranek, who when Stafford threw it to him the first time, he tipped it up in the air and the Bengals intercepted it. So you don't even want to throw to him either. And then you got Van Jefferson, who really wasn't playing that well. So you're like, okay, let's just go to Kupp, because even if he's double, triple teamed, he's our best chance. And the Bengals still didn't double team him. I don't understand that. Like, I would just play man on, like, make this guy Hopkins or make this guy Skoranek, who has 10 catches all year, or make Van Jefferson beat you one-on-one. Like, for them to do it more than once, I'd be surprised. But Cooper Kupp, if you're one-on-one, he's going to beat you. So, like, I don't understand. They played a lot of zone, and Kupp, I know Stafford did have that really good no-look pass to Kupp, but like they did make great plays. But at some point, like putting Eli Apple one-on-one with him, like that's just dumb. I mean, Kupp is great and made a great move, but you just can't do that.
Well, I saw one of the strategies I think Shannon Sharp mentioned was like if you want to cover him, you got to find him, was what the Rams basically said, because they were moving him all over the field, which I agree. Like, in principle, it shouldn't come down to that, but like, you're also kind of giving the Rams, if you do it, you got to have a spy on Kupp, if you will, of a corner, then you're like constantly messing with the formations of everyone else, which is what the Rams were smart in doing and putting him, and he's capable of going everywhere, and they really took advantage of that. And to add a little bit too is in the moment I texted you guys how they didn't stop running the football. And in the moment, it was kind of annoying.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, though, I think they were right even into the fourth to keep, because they kept getting 1 yard or a negative yard or 0.
They either got 0 or like 1 yard. And it was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, you want to keep the defense honest, but if you're getting 1 yard every time, like, is it really that worth it? But
yeah, in the moment, it was annoying. And I think maybe even still, it's a little too much. But in hindsight, they'd forced the Bengals to not only have to worry about Kupp all the time wherever he was, but then to also like just keep watching for the run,
Right. And I think on that one play, there was one play where, since they were able to keep running it, they were able to set up the play action. And what happened was Kupp was lined up on the far side. I think it might have been in the fourth quarter or second half when Kupp got one of his touchdowns. I think the first one, where Kupp basically, he starts on the end of the line of scrimmage. And once Stafford hikes it, he goes back to fake the ball to Akers or whoever's the running back, and Kupp comes in to fake block the linebacker, and then Kupp literally just sprints right behind the linebacker and curves to the corner of the end zone. So, like, because he was setting up that block and that they still kept running the ball, he was able to get that touchdown.
Right.
it sucks that the refs, that was a big talking point after the game, because it seemed like they were letting everyone play through these penalties.
Yeah.
And then just all of a sudden, the last drive for the Rams, now they're calling every little ticky-tack foul and penalty. And it's like, well, where was this the whole game? If you were going to call it like this, then why are you waiting until now to start calling these penalties? That's what kind of frustrated me. It seemed, I don't know. It was a great drive by the Rams. It was amazing, but it was like, oh, you're giving them the touchdown. It's like
I was fine with it.
Holding.
Well,
It was the
because
offside too on the offensive line. If you saw the video where like the two end guys, like they almost reacted faster, it seems, in the snapper.
the false start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the false start. Yeah,
I didn't see that.
It's the two ends false start, and then there's another video. Donald is across the line and he's offsides.
Oh wow, I
like,
didn't
it's kind
see
of
those.
close. It's definitely a false start, but it was like, I feel like I've been seeing more and more of that on like
Yeah, I've
shotgun
seen that.
pass places.
I've seen the tackles get a little bit of a head start, and they don't really call it. I don't know, maybe
You know what I'm talking about.
it
Yeah,
or something. But
maybe.
I did see. But the thing is, remember Higgins, his 75-yard touchdown to start the second half? He reached around Ramsey and pulled his face mask.
Well,
like,
so my
that, like,
thought was, we've seen during the infamous Chiefs Patriots 2019, maybe 2018,
they owed him
where
one.
it was like, oh, we called the foul for them, so we gotta call for the Patriots. So I think
that
they
was
had that.
Yeah, I think that was in their case. After the Higgins
Yeah.
touchdown, I said to my friend, I was like, okay, and he agreed. I was like, yeah, the Rams are going to get a call at some point. Like, we don't know when, but I think it was that call on Wilson, the linebacker on Cup.
Yeah,
when that was
100%.
that wasn't pass interference, but the next play after that, where it was holding they were holding Cup's back pad or something. But I think the Higgins, like, that made up for the Higgins, even though Higgins was a 75-yarder. Like, once they got that call on third down to get a new fresh set of downs at like the 2, you're like, all right, so Rams are going to get into the end zone basically.
Right.
Well, it's like, yeah. You're saying, Jared? Sorry.
No, I was just saying, it was like, I don't know. It was like such a great drive. And then like up until that point, it seemed like they were getting stopped. And it was third down. They get stopped. The holding call comes out. And it was like, they're just like giving them this touchdown here. It didn't feel as exciting for them to score. Cause I'm like, they're giving it to them. They're giving them every chance to score. And I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's great that it is a little like they shouldn't have to be owed one, like with that Higgins one, it was a face mask. And it led to a touchdown. So, that's kind of a big deal because we saw it throughout the game that the Bengals, outside of big plays, had trouble getting the ball in the end zone. Like, they had some field goals and stuff, but that call gave them a touchdown, and who knows what would have happened. But I think it's just a weird thing with the league that they should look into. Like, why can't you review? It's like, how much can you review that keeps the pace of the game going? And like, there's so many rules that on every play you could, like, on a microcosm, look at every player, see like, oh, this offensive lineman's holding. Like, there's so many things when it comes down to what the ref sees. But then there's the element of like my reaction being, and I think kind of like you said, John, like we kind of knew, like, when they called that holding, it was getting them back. It was evening the playing field for it's just terrible timing. Maybe it shouldn't. I agree with Jared though that they weren't consistent throughout the game, which is weird because usually they're really happy to do it. Or it was so little. There were so little flags thrown that I was like, did someone higher up tell them like, yo, just let it happen. Like, don't get in the way. And to be fair, I think it made for a great game because there were a couple like deep throws that the receiver fell down or something, and you're just so used to throughout the season expecting a flag to come in and give it to them that you didn't see a lot of that. And I feel like, yes, they kind of gave one back to them for the Cup holding, but to be fair, like you just mentioned, like they did get a holding on Cup in the next couple plays after, like that was legit. So I think it was what was happening was towards that final drive. It's Matthew Stafford fourth quarter, and it's Cup. They couldn't stop Cup. Cup reminded me of Edelman in that Super Bowl with Brady. Like he just was on another level that day. But my thinking was they probably were holding him and getting away with it. And then the ref caught on, and then they saw a little holding and called that, and it wasn't on that moment. But you could tell that the Bengals were getting frustrated. They couldn't stop him, and they did get penalized for a proper holding call. So, no one said you don't win the Super Bowl without a little bit of luck. and it's like when it's the Patriots, always the dynasty, or they're I think I mentioned like they're bad juju per se. Someone said in an article once, but when it's the Stafford, it's like we're like nitpicking a little bit for whatever reason. But not to take away from any team, because coming into the game, I was 51% Rams certain. I wanted the Bengals to win, but I was like, it's gonna be close. So I was surprised when John and Jonathan, you guys had it like almost 2 leads up for the Rams. And to be fair, it felt like the Bengals were gonna win throughout the game. Like it was, the Rams were not running well. They were pressuring Burrow, but they were down. So as soon as they were down, it changed the game.
You got to think how different it would have been if Odell didn't get hurt, though.
Yeah.
Because then they, in the second half or the second quarter, they would have had more success.
And we talked about that, how like teams, we were talking all this, like what I mentioned, like what if Aaron Donald got hurt, or what if, that happens in these games. So losing Odell was huge, but they still managed to win out, which is a testament to the whole team. I mean, like you said, Jared, it's kind of interesting that Stafford is the first one to throw for 3 and not get it. But it's like, I think most of the conversation for MVP was between Kupp and Donald. And it's not to diminish Stafford, but it's like you could really see, in a way, I'm gutted for the Bengals and the fans there, because I think they had a really special team too. But I also have to respect the Rams organization. I told you guys, for like, in their own way, they're not a dynasty, but they have superstars, but they gave everything on the line. Like they had nothing left to lose. They leveraged their future. We talked about this. They needed to win now. And so you kind of respect the team that, like, in that way puts it all on the line, than like the dynasty, or, the Bengals were underdogs for sure, but they have a lot of young talent that will, like, hopefully we'll see stay there. But as well as underdog, I think Kupp was, it was crazy with I'm sorry, I'm talking so much, but Kupp was like, I knew of him, but he wasn't a receiver I'd rank top. Like entering this season, I wouldn't have said he was number 1. Even with Stafford, and I've always thought Stafford was better than the Lions did with him. And but I was like, I never thought of Kupp. And I think there was a tweet from Devontae Adams like in 2020
I just
or something.
saw that.
Yeah, and it was like Devontae Adams was saying Cooper Kupp is the most underrated receiver in the NFL, and this was like 2 years before, like in 2020 something, 20. It was like before he blew up on the national stage. So he went under my radar, but it's also like, to be fair, what I'm trying to say is not a superstar in hindsight. Stafford coming from the Lions, first year with the team. It is interesting that we were comparing Burrow a lot to Brady when Stafford has the fourth quarter comeback, king in his crown right now, maybe even since he entered the league compared to Brady. And then also being the second player to go in his first year with a new team to win the Super Bowl. The last guy to do it was Brady. And it's literally last year, and to do it the year your city is hosting the Super Bowl. It's like, it just makes me think, like, what the Lions doing? Like, you had a Super Bowl caliber quarterback all this time.
They kind of respected him so much that they knew they didn't have the team for him. They just could never build the team around him. But I do like your point that you made on the podcast, like when we were talking about predicting the game, because you were saying, the reason you were leaning 51% towards the Rams is because of Stafford.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, you're right, we're talking about Brady being more Burrow being more Brady-esque with his calm composure and good leadership. But Stafford, at the end of the day, he's pretty underrated. Best fourth quarter QBR. I mean, look, 50 touchdowns ties the record for Brady for most in a Super Bowl winning season. So yeah, he does have the potential, and he is underrated,
It's weird that he is, because he just won a Super Bowl, but like I mentioned to you guys before we started recording, like now it's like, is he Hall of Fame or not? And it's like, instead of just celebrating the fact that he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, it's like, it's just, it is strange. I think it made me think a lot about how we talk about this on the podcast, and we give credit to credit's due about how a lot of times picking successful quarterbacks in the draft comes down to how big of a stage they won in college, which I think is a big factor.
True.
We like to think, and this is true in life in a lot of ways, but we like to think there's winners and losers, So I think in a lot of people's heads, oh, you're the Lions quarterback for so long that that's going to rub off on you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's not as simple as that, like, nor is someone who wins all the time going to win every time, anyone can be beaten any day. But it's like, I think for whatever reason, I think, like you mentioned, I've always, I don't know why, it's just like the numbers, I think, prove for themselves, just people don't talk about it. But Stafford's put up great numbers comparing to what he's had around him. But still, props to the Bengals. I mean, like Burrow getting sacked this much. We talked about it. It was the Rams' best versus the Bengals' worst. And the fact that it came down to the fourth quarter last drive is a testament to the Bengals defense, to the things that worked on offense, as well as Burrow himself. And it makes me wonder, like, what would have happened if they had an average O-line, you know?
Right.
If
yeah.
it's
It's
this
like,
close.
I mean, they could get to the Super Bowl. And I know
Yeah.
I posted something on TikTok saying that wide receivers are more important than offensive linemen. And I definitely got a lot of flack for that. And a lot of people saying, are you crazy? Like, offensive line is way more important. But then I said, well, then how did the Bengals get to the Super Bowl? How did the Bengals get within 3 points of winning, being the best team in the league this year with, I think Jamar Chase, I think everybody would say, yeah, Jamar Chase was the better pick over Penei Sewell. I mean, I don't think anybody would disagree with that, but it's just crazy how you can overcome an offensive line. And I think Jared said on the podcast last week, he said, yeah, they might not have the skill, but once they let up 9 sacks against the Titans, they really came together as a group and played much better against the Chiefs. So like you can elevate your game to a certain extent.
That's true.
Yeah, I think with that O-line, 100% they made the right decision. I don't think Penei Sewell, if they had him on their team, they would make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like you need Jamar Chase. He's a absolute superstar, and you can't say that about Sewell yet. But I want to get into some of the crucial plays because I mentioned before the 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, I think. Joe Mixon was having such a great game. Felt like he was running the ball really, really well.
Yeah.
They won the running battle this game. And at that point in time, they had Samaje Perine on a crucial 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. And he didn't get it. And then it goes to 4th and 1, 4th and 2. Why? I just don't get it from that sense. Like, how do you not have your top running back in the game for a crucial? It's almost like it was like an afterthought. They're like, all right, it's 3rd and 2. We're going to get this. Because that second down play was a huge deep pass that was a miscommunication to Chase. Mm-hmm. Chase had curled back and Joe Burrow chucked it way past.
Yeah.
So they must have thought, oh, we're going to take a chance on 2nd down, 2nd and 2. And then if we don't get it, 3rd and 2, we'll just run it. We'll get it. Then they don't get it. Now I felt like they were just totally caught off guard, rushing. They're like, oh, shoot, now what do we do? And that last play, I think, John, you mentioned it. There was a little wide shot. And if he had maybe 1 full second of time, extra time, Jamar Chase had Ramsey on his butt for a huge touchdown. It would have been
Ramsey literally
winning.
Ramsey fell down. So if Burrow either looked to the right to start the play, he would have probably taken the chance on Chase. It would have been a touchdown. Or if Donald didn't get there as fast. But like Caleb was saying before, each play is designed with progressions. You have certain guys that you're going to look to first. And his look first was to Uzama and Higgins on the left side. Now he did pump fake, but that's just unfortunate that that's how that play went and that Chase was that wide open.
And the player who makes the play, who tackles Burrow, is Aaron Donald. And there's a NFL Films audio of Sean McVay, and he's on the sideline right before the game, and he's like, Donald's going to make a play. Like, he's going to make a play right now.
Yeah.
And of course he shines because, for him personally, he's been in the situation before against the Patriots in the Super Bowl, and he couldn't get it done. And, for him, he's the best player I think debatably, he's one of the greatest players to ever play the game. Defensively, offensively, he is incredible.
You can make the case for that. And the fact that both the championship game and the Super Bowl came down to him making a play.
Clutch. Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's
but did you see McVay before that 2-minute drive? he ran down the sideline to like the defense. He went to Donald, he went to Von Miller and stuff. And he's like, what more can you guys want? This is it. Like, this is the chance. Like, and most people think about, oh yeah, the coach goes to the offense. It says, this is it. Like, you got to get a touchdown with 2 minutes left. But you could say the same about the defense. What more can you want? You could stop the Bengals and win the Super Bowl. Like, this is the chance that you wait for all season, and you have this chance.
Yeah, and it goes down to whoever makes the personnel decisions on the Rams, because picking up Von Miller was big to add a compliment to Aaron Donald, because I didn't, and I'll be honest and say, like, I knew Aaron Donald was good, but to hear people say he's like, you'd put him next to Lawrence Taylor, like that's the level that, like, we quarterbacks, whatever, but talk about the best at the position that he plays in of all time. Aaron Donald might be top 5, or in the best in the league.
Probably top 1.
Yeah,
in terms
and
of defensive
top
tackle.
3, yes, and
top
even like
2, and he's not 2.
And how many people were saying, like, in terms of, you take every quarterback in the league, every running back, like everyone who plays their position, and just who's the best player, not the most paid, not the most, because we, quarterbacks, they had different roles, but they say Aaron Donald's like just that guy. And it was, it is cool and poetic that it came down to that, but like going down to the personnel to get Odell to open up that thing for Cup after they lost Woods.
Yeah, getting Odell like literally the day before Woods tore his ACL. It was almost like it was meant to be.
That was creepy.
Well, because
very
he would have
bad
been
for my fantasy team.
Yeah. No, I don't. My fantasy.
Well, now they think Odell tore his ACL, which that would stink. He probably wouldn't be ready for the start of the season.
I was gonna say he probably won't sign with anybody then. He'll just take a year off.
Yeah, which sucks, because I think he, I don't. It's like talking about Aaron Donald retiring and Sean McVay retiring. I don't know if I want to get into that right now, but
Sean McVay retired.
He's the youngest coach ever to win a Super Bowl.
There was reporters were asking him, and he was like, "Yeah, I want to like start a family. I don't want to spend too much time away from him."
Think about like Tom Brady, where he wins like his fifth one. He's like, "No, I'm not done yet." And these guys win their first one. They're like, "That's it for me, guys.
Yeah, that's it.
One and done."
It shows how hard it is to get there, and how hard it is to win, and how, in perspective of that, how crazy it is what the Patriots organization did, as well as what Brady has done. Like it's ridiculous in this sport.
The whole team's gonna retire.
It's
Von Miller, Stafford.
There's gonna be no Rams team next
year.
Geez.
And they got no more picks left for the next 30 years, so they're gonna have nobody.
It's gonna be interesting. But Stafford alone, how much worse of a situation could it like? It's not gonna get worse than with the Lions,
Yeah,
like,
true.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And look at what he still put up crazy numbers on the Lions. So even with all that, and that's the other thing. That's the biggest piece, is getting Stafford was the biggest piece, I think, because as good as a defense, you need at least someone solid to get to the quarterback, you saw it with Goff, like they made it, but to make those plays, I think Stafford was like that final, like starting, that was when you can pinpoint, like, this is the decision that led to
because you knew that if the game came down to it, he could like drop back every play. And that was the thing with Goff, and that's the thing with Garoppolo. Like, if it comes down to the fourth quarter, like, Garoppolo did it once or twice this year, but like Stafford has a much better chance to drop back and pass every time and get it to the one guy that the whole defense is watching.
Yeah, and he can make those throws. So like you said, I think Garoppolo has a place in the league for sure. But like, when Garoppolo gets a pick on your team and you're playing for him, it's like, oh, like, what's going on? But I think Stafford had a couple picks, this year. Well, in the game,
he actually led the league in interceptions.
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah. But my point being, like, when that's what I'm saying. Like, the mentality is like, well, like, I didn't think of that either. But the mentality when
that's because
Garoppolo,
Jameis Winston got hurt.
Yeah, sure. And Daniel Jones didn't play all his games.
All right. Makes sense.
My point being, when those guys get picks, maybe, it's like, that's the game. But when Stafford does it, it's like he's a gunslinger. Like, he can make those throws, but he also will take the risk and make it more often than not, but he'll also get picked. But it's like, he's that caliber of quarterback that it's like, it's not over yet, Right. So, it's not to say props to him for getting picks. Part of me is the analytics is like, that shows he's not too safe. Like, I think sometimes other quarterbacks, if better numbers, are a little too conservative, so they don't throw picks, but then you don't risk it for the biscuit, as Bruce Arians would say. So, it's it's incredible for the Rams organization, and it's crazy that the parallels between Stafford and Brady. But I'm curious what you guys think about the Bengals, like that. Like you said, that 3rd-and-1, and that I don't know what the progression was in that last 4th down play where Burrow had an open chase, and for me that sounds a bit like a coaching decision. Like, why don't you still had your timeouts, right? So why not, if it's a rotation thing, why not get Mixon in there?
Well, the thing is,
Yep.
you could say the same thing about Chris Evans. Had that 8 minutes left in the game, he had the 3rd-and-2 conversion, right? So what if he dropped that? Then you'd be like, oh my gosh, well, why wasn't Mixon in? So it's like at some point you have to be like, who, like maybe Mixon was just gassed from the first few plays. You don't even know.
My issue, I got to look it up, but P. Ryan, I hope he's an unrestricted free agent and they just let him go because he's so bad. He's like the worst.
I have a bigger problem with the fact that they even ran it on 3rd-and-2. I know they got 1 yard, but like
they were forced to because they took a stupid 50-yard bomb for no reason.
Could throw it on 3rd-and-2. If they throw it twice, they probably would have got a completion.
I think they got a little too comfortable with moving the ball, and they were like, all right, so it's 2nd-and-2. Let's try and get a deep pass, get some big yards. If not, we rush it, we get the 1st down. And then when they miss, they're like, all right, let's rush it. And they're like, oh, shoot, we have P. Ryan in. He sucks. Where's Mixon? It's like Mixon couldn't find his helmet on the sideline. No. And then P. Ryan can't get it. Now they're like, oh, shoot, like this is bad. This is really bad. Now it's a 4th-and-2. If we run the ball, it's Aaron Donald and Von Miller.
Yeah, you basically, you can't run it.
Yeah, so now
but they didn't even have like, why didn't they have P. Ryan, though, stay next to Burrow? Was it really important for P. Ryan to go to the flat?
That's another thing. Why is P. Ryan in again? Why? I don't get it. Did he literally was Mixon that tired in a Super Bowl 4th quarter?
Yeah, really.
Could be sitting down unless he was injured. I'll give him that. I haven't looked, but if he was, he better be freaking dead on the sideline before he gets taken out for P. Ryan.
Yeah, so, really. I don't
like even Chris Evans would be better. Chris Evans, you could put him in the slot. He can. He's a way better receiver than P. Ryan.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Receiving wise, I mean, he already showed on the 3rd down a drive ago, not a drive ago, but that earlier in that drive that was clutch receiving. Right. Certainly as a receiver, maybe put him in on the 4th one. It's interesting because it just comes down to the big part is that defensive line. There's ways to get around it, but when you need a touchdown to win the game, it's much harder. I heard it said, I think again by Shannon Sharp, that like throughout the playoffs, when they needed a field goal, they were able to get the field goal with the McPherson to get in range. But when they needed a touchdown, they weren't able to be that consistent. And you saw it earlier in the game, like the Bengals kind of, because of that O-line, you need a defensive, like an opening. You need something like to strike really, you need a big play. And they're able to get a couple of those. But when you're in those kind of drives, you need to have variety. And I think you're limited by how good that defensive line was. And again, I think it was props to the Rams for not, I think the Bengals are better than people give them credit for because of how close it was to the very end. That being said, it was good for the Rams to put Aaron Donald right up in their face in the middle. So it's like, they chose to run it right into him though. So I would have like called an audible or something.
Yeah. At that point you just,
but he's also so like P. Ryan's not a small guy, but you see the play, he almost gets the first.
Yeah, he was.
But Aaron Donald bear hugs him and like pulls him back while like 2 Bengals offensive linemen are like trying to stop him. And it's like, that's just physical. Like those last 2 plays came down to Donald making the plays and he did it. But it's like the Bengals in hindsight, maybe just call something that doesn't leave it that way. I don't know.
I know it's tough. It's easier to say in hindsight, but I think these are the decisions. These are the reasons why I picked the Rams, is because you just knew that they had more coaching experience. And in the big game, coaching experience does matter. And we knew that the right guard was the biggest issue for the Bengals all season. Their right guard just couldn't hold up in pass protection. So lining up Donald on the right guard, lining up Donald on the left guard, and then running a stunt with Von Miller starting on the left tackle and then going into the right tackle and then going on the right guard when he runs around. So they did do good coaching in terms of the defensive line running stunts and things like that. And then I saw one stat where it's like Mixon was the one running back in the league that stayed to block like the least out of every running back in the league. Like they were just not used to keeping the running back in the backfield to help the offensive line.
Who was
I
that?
don't know. Mixon. I think
Oh, Mixon.
So
Mixon was one
they'd
of
send
the
him out to
he was
catch or
for whatever reason, maybe they liked him going
the
out on
style.
routes or whatever, but
Yeah.
they weren't used. That's not what they do. They'd rather have somebody. I guess rather the running back go out on a route than help the offensive line block.
Or
Whether that
maybe
was a
chip a
good choice or
guy.
not,
Yeah,
I think it came down to this game, and it just wasn't. It wasn't amazing coaching. Obviously, they only lost by 3, and it's easier to say now. But
it was they were so it felt like the Bengals were going to run away with it, and we talk about the flags too, but there's a bunch of little things that just like, you're like, oh, the Rams got it, the Bengals got it. Like there was just big moments that kind of went both ways.
well, because you thought that the Rams couldn't run it, so it was like they run it on first down, and okay, now it's 2nd and 9, and then they try to throw it to Jefferson or Hopkins or Skoranek, and it's incomplete, and you're like, oh shoot, now it's 3rd and 9. Okay, you got to go to Cup now, and then if they don't complete it, you're like, oh, well, now the Bengals the Bengals had more chances to run away with it, I feel.
And it's like, how much more? I'm not say how much more but like more generalized, like. They lose Odell, they lose Woods. They still have Cup, which is enough, clearly, in hindsight. But, like, none of those other – like, Stafford was doing a good job at spreading the ball around, but no one was consistently there. I mean, they hit Jefferson a lot, but he wasn't as reliable. Like, he tried him a ton more than Skoranek. But I think Skoranek got a couple, but he also didn't, So it's like what was it? And I had to mention this at the beginning, but you still got to give props to the Rams for McVay to kind of learn his lesson. Against the Patriots, they stopped the run. And when it's Goff at quarterback, it's different for sure. But like once the defense has to stop worrying about it, that gives them advantage.
That's what happened. That's what happened against the Patriots. They couldn't run it on the Patriots, and then they just basically abandoned the run. They didn't really run it. And then the Patriots were like, all right, this is easy. We know you're going to throw it. But this game, he and what helped with sticking with that run, not only the play action, but I think the biggest run of the game came with 2 minutes left, right before the 2-minute warning. Akers had like an 8-yard run to get them down to the 8-yard line
to convert.
And that was like huge.
That was what I was leading
first
into.
and goal from the 8-yard line with 1:55 left. Like that was huge.
And with the 2-minute, it's a perfect timing. That's what you do. That's what you do in Madden. Like you run the ball so you don't have to waste time out. And it's like when you're coming down on the 4th to get the first. Like, it came down to the flag. A lot of it came down to the flag, sure. But that also, like, they were getting nothing. But they kept with the run to the very end. And that last play ended with, not the last play, but that when they needed a big run, they finally got one in the perfect moment. And that comes from the mentality of we're not giving up, even though we consistently got like 0, 1. I think they had the lowest rushing yards to win a Super Bowl or something. Some statistic along those lines. Now, I don't know if it's exactly that word for word, but it's like compared to all the other winners and all the other running statistics, it was crazy that they still won or something. And, fair play because it does keep them honest, like you said. So, good in hindsight, but I think it'll be something we wonder, like there's in hindsight, but what the Bengals could have done, but it's also like fundamentally, like it's an exception to the rule that the Bengals made it to the Super Bowl with an O-line as like that, an average O-line, good defensive line, I'd take that, but you just can't, you're so limited. And I heard this comparison. I wonder what you guys would think, but they got to do more to protect Burrow. He's entering his 3rd year come next season. And it's like getting sacked, 70 times in the regular and postseason ain't sustainable, but it's also like, you don't want, we talked about, people asking Aaron Donald to retire, or there was reports of McVay being asked and he's like, we'll see. So I don't think he's saying yes or no, but they were just asking him. And I'm like, the fact that it's question mark is weird to me. But what people were saying, you don't want Burrow to kind of follow the path of Andrew Luck, who Andrew Luck had similar greatness, like that quarterback clutchness, but he just got hurt so much because they couldn't protect him. And it's like, you can't let Burrow get hit. Even in the game, you saw Batty like that. Looked like he hurt his knee or something. And it's like, you just can't win games like that, So it's an exception to the rule. They made it that far, and a testament to how good that defense and the whole team is with the heart they had. But when it came down to the clutch moment, that was your opponent was going to hit your weak spot, and they just kept hitting it that weakest part in the chain until it finally broke at the right moment.
Well, we can actually parlay that into what the Bengals' future looks like. They have a couple big free agents. CJ Uzama, He is an unrestricted free agent.
Mm.
Riley Reef, left tackle, unrestricted free agent, and Larry Ujanobi is also going to be unrestricted free agent, along with some other guys. Jesse Bates, Eli Apple, who sucks, and that's the only guys I really recognize. So they only really lose one left tackle, Riley Reef. I would go all in on offensive line. I wouldn't even worry about Uzama. I would be all in on protecting Joe Burrow this season. Whatever money I have, whatever draft picks I have, get the best O lineman you can possibly get with the picks that you have, with the money that you have, and put them there, because you could lose Uzama, you can lose Ojanobi. Jesse Bates, you'll probably have to re-sign, I'll be honest.
Yeah, you have to sign Bates.
What
for
position
sure.
is Bates?
Safety.
He's safety.
And what about Ujanobi's the cornerback? Is that right?
Ujanobi is a D tackle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have to. He got
They
hurt
keep the
though.
defense. You need the
He got
defense.
hurt, yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree.
No,
the
but
safeties are great.
The
though.
left
But Bates
tackle,
is good.
the left tackle Reef, he was actually pretty good this year. That was one of the bright spots of their line. So you re-sign him, and then you got to get the right guard. The right guard was their worst position, and then right
100%.
tackle also wasn't great. The right side of the line just was not good. I agree.
And honestly, like the rushing, the run block, that's what I was trying to say. The run block was actually pretty well. Mixon ran for the most yards in his division.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
I mean, that's fine. And it's only in the passing game where
it was really just the passing. It was weird. It's just pass block was like 40.
They have great receivers too. You mentioned, I think Uzama's a great, I think, chemistry guy, leader. He's a
good leader because he's been there for so long.
And not a bad blocker either. I think they should try to keep him. But receivers it's interesting because I've seen other quarterbacks who get drafted and the receivers are bad for a while and the O-line's okay. But the Bengals that's kind of just saying it, right? I don't know if it's totally true. But the Bengals have great receiving core. We talked about them kind of lining up, for every Chiefs receiver, you could line up a comparable one on the Bengals, but they don't have the O-line,
Where do you guys see the Bengals? There was a post that said, Burrow will be back. Burrow will be back in the Super Bowl. Like, sure enough. And then, some people said, I don't think so. I mean, look who he's got to go up against. And for the next 10 years, Mahomes, Herbert, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Like, this is pretty tough. It's not like the NFC where, Aaron Rodgers, Stafford, Brady, they're all kind of heading out, and these guys are just starting out. And right now, I wouldn't put Burrow above Mahomes or Josh Allen. I wouldn't even put him above Lamar Jackson or Justin Herbert.
What?
Wait.
Not above Lamar Jackson?
No.
Are you kidding me?
Like in terms of the overall career?
Yeah, but for right now.
Just quarterback overall?
For overall career, I'd give it to Lamar right now. Yeah, I mean, Burrow's in his first full season. There's not enough of a sample size.
Lamar also won MVP.
That's so 1 year. Yeah, but if you're saying Burrow one good year was this year, Lamar's only good year was his MVP.
Well, it's like saying
better than
Rodgers. Well, it's like Rodgers.
Okay, so you'd rather win MVP than go to the Super Bowl.
No, we're talking about quarterback. Quarterback.
We're just saying it, you put one in Madden. Which one is the higher overall?
Yeah, he's got to face Lamar Jackson, former MVP. Josh Allen had a perfect QBR in the playoffs. Mahomes already a Super Bowl champion. Like, these are his people that he's got to face. It's like, is he really going to be able to get back? Like, that's tough. That's really tough.
Here's how I look at it. There's two ways that this can go. Either one, you could look at it like how you're looking at it. Like, look, okay, and the Bengals, you could say they kind of got lucky. Things went their way this postseason. They would have to beat the Bills and the Chiefs, and Chargers are up and coming. Ravens are even going to be tough in the division next year because they'll have less injuries. And you could be like, I don't know if they're going to get back. Or you could take it this other way. And the other way is that when a team gets this far, they mature a lot. And I don't know if you guys have probably played sports. I know you guys both played sports when you were younger. I played hockey when I was younger, and I remember being on my hockey team and I was the captain of the team. And when we were in like ninth grade, we were freshmen and we got to the championship and we got destroyed in the championship. I think we lost like 5-1 in the championship. And it was like, we worked so hard the whole season to get there and we were still so young. And we were just like, oh, wow, we just like got destroyed. But you grow from that. You're like, wow, we came all this way. We came pretty far. We're going up against 12th graders and we made it all the way to the championship game. Now, granted, we lost 5-1 and got outplayed by a lot, but we're going to come back next season and we're going to grow and get better from that. And every year we got better. And what do you know, 2 years later, we won like 4 or 5 championships in a row, or 4 in a row and 5 of the last 6. And you basically grow a lot from that. And I think that's what's going to happen with the Bengals. They have the personalities to take this the right way. They're not going to take this loss and be like, oh, well, yeah, we just got lucky. Like, we're not going to really get back. No, they're going to be a lot more confident of a team next year. They're going to play a lot. They've been through so much this year. And when you go through that much and get to the Super Bowl and only lose by 3 points, that you're just more emotionally connected as a team. And I think it's not far off to say that Burrow is amongst the top in the AFC. And I know as of right now, I would just put Allen and Mahomes ahead of him. But I think next year, the year after, he could definitely outplay Allen and Mahomes next year. And I wouldn't put it past them to get back to the Super Bowl. I think it's going to be an every year occurrence getting back to the AFC championship game, or at least fighting to get there.
I could see that too. I mentioned this on the Super Bowl podcast. There's something I think it was Alshon Jeffrey on the I think when he was on the Bears, there's a statement of the year before he was traded to the Eagles. It was like someone asked him, like, I forget how exactly it went down, but it was something along the lines of oh yeah, I'm gonna they asked him when he was on the Bears, like, are you gonna ever make it, you guys ever gonna make it to Super Bowl? So yeah, I'm gonna get my ring. And then he gets traded to the Eagles and then wins the Super Bowl with the Eagles. And they asked him, was like, I never said it was the Bears, but he got his ring. So I mentioned this. I wish I'd looked into it because I couldn't find any definitive articles. I mentioned that a couple pundits were like alluding to the fact that the Bengals organization's a little like, Carson Palmer had a statement too, the old Bengals quarterback, and he got roasted for like some criticism of the Bengals organization too. So I don't know exactly under the hood what's going on, but it makes me wonder, like, will they do enough to are they cheap? Are they not like forward thinking? Are they going to do enough to give Burrow the weapons, or will 100%. They have to go to the NFC? I don't know the facts on it, but I've heard a couple like whispers and rumors, and we're not like door debate. We tell it how it is. We're not going to punch down, but we have candor. It's not like we have industry connections, but I feel like a couple of people who do are afraid to go outright and say something. But I'm like, what are the facts? It's like, it makes you wonder, if will Burrow have to do what Stafford did at an earlier stage in his career if the Bengals don't, because they have those. He has the intangibles to be a top 5, quarterback for sure. Statistically, I don't know how he ranks up, but when a guy like that's on your team and you're playing for him, there's always hope. And the fact that it was this close when on paper it should have been a blowout is coaching's there, the other factors are there, but they got to give him protection, and that costs money. So will they do that? I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. You hit it right in the head. Can they keep this core together, or will they, go cheap? What if Tyler Boyd, who is a crucial veteran in that lineup, what if they're like, yeah, we don't want to pay him the money, so we're going to let him walk. And then they let him walk, and it kind of upsets some other players and maybe Burrow. And, it's so hard to keep a core like that together with Burrow, Mixon, Chase, Boyd, Higgins. Like, that core is going to be very expensive if they start making the playoffs more often. These people are going to want more money. And are you going to be willing to pay out that extra money to maybe hurt in other areas like defense? Their defense wasn't great at all this year. And they were lucky that the offense was as good as it was. And that's, how the game's going. It's how the game's going this year and for years to come.
Defense?
Yeah, the Bengals.
Well, it wasn't. It was good in the. It was good in the playoffs, but in the regular season, it really wasn't that great.
I said this before. They were lucky they had Trey Hendrickson. Hendrickson carried that defense, but Eli Apple got torched this year. you know,
they're sneaky
player.
good. I'd say they have the. I mean, they went up against the Rams off. I mean, yeah, they lost to Dell, but still, I'd say they're sneaky good. You know, like they have a
They're
lot of.
sneaky good, but I think when you really compare, they're not comparable to, obviously the Rams are the best, but even to some defenses in the AFC, they're a little sus. But I don't know. I think for the Bengals, you got to keep Burrow happy. Once you've found a quarterback and it's your franchise guy, you have to keep him
you have
happy.
to do everything you can.
So if Burrow wants Mixon, Chase, Higgins, Boyd, he wants all those guys to stay. He wants Uzama. You have to do it. And say he wants Uzama and you can't get that. You can't sign Riley Reef back. And it's like, that's what he wants. Like, you have to keep him happy because these franchise guys are so hard to come by.
Yeah.
That you can't risk, especially when he's on his rookie deal, to upset him and be mad at the ownership and for him to just walk or force a trade or anything like that. But yeah, this Bengals team could 100% make it back to the Super Bowl. But like what Caleb said, this ownership, it historically hasn't been player favored. And if they can change that and keep Zach Taylor, who's young, up and coming, and keep this core together, like, the Patriots do, or, like this Seahawks who kept Pete Carroll and they kept going to the Super Bowl, and Wilson, and they didn't ditch them because they had bad seasons. It's like, you have to stick through those bad seasons because you've had this moment right here where you band together and upset the Chiefs, the Titans. That was about it. They didn't upset the Raiders, but they got their first win since 1991.
Yeah, that was big mentally. That was
that was a big hurdle to come over. So this group, like you said, John, is banded together. So they have to do everything in their power to try and keep that together. If they can, that's great. The Chiefs actually, I feel like, are having a little bit of trouble because they have Tyreek Hill to pay, they have Kelsey to pay, they have Mahomes to pay, and their defense is suffering. And that was one of the reasons they didn't make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Bengals defense for sure, I would say, is better than the Chiefs overall this year. It's easy to say when we're not making millions, like, oh, hometown discount, but I wonder if Burrow, like, the advantage of being in the home state and being near family, if that's enough to
I doubt it. He's gonna want his money. Same with Chase. He's gonna want his money.
And to an extent, they should be paid. Like, I don't think they should take deals just for the sake of for the hope of you. You know what I mean? What Brady's done is very unique, and that's why they've had longevity with the Patriots when he was on there. But I just looked it up talking about, because I was just like, why can't I find it? And I'll just read some headlines, not go too into it because I just skimmed it. So maybe another episode or video for another day. But the title from The Guardian was, "The Bengals are in the Super Bowl, but their owner remains reviled. Cincinnati are on the way to their first Super Bowl in 33 years. Few fans give Mike Brown any credit for getting them there." And one line that just kind of stood out for me is like, Brown has been a target for years for running his football team on the cheap. And if you guys remember, there was another headline from, this is behind the steel curtain, but I think it seemed legitimate, referencing one of the receiver TJ Houshmandzadeh, if you remember him.
Yeah.
And I told you, the pundits I've listened to mention that the Bengals are kind of cheap, but he mentions that there was on Colin Cowherd's show that, according to him, he alleges that there wasn't any bottled water or Gatorade. They were cheap on getting used jock straps and stuff. And I don't know how it works, but like, instead of having players stay at a hotel for home games, they just go straight from home. So one of the lines here was like, you'd have guys like come from the club straight to the game because they thought they were inactive, and it's like, just to save money. So I'm like, if those things are true, it makes me wonder if they have a talisman like Burrow, if he's going to change their ways or anything.
We can ask Chris.
No, he's not going to answer that.
Nor will we.
He's like, guys, it was hell. I can't believe I survived this whole season, dude. Use jock straps, man. I was struggling.
We didn't have blue Gatorade. It was dyed water. No, but we're not going to ask him that. But it is making me curious that even the Guardian, which isn't a sporting, they have some good articles, but it's like, I don't know. Now that they actually have a guy, when they had Andy Dalton or Carson Palmer, you could make an argument like, yeah, those guys aren't. Like that, I think they deserve more credit than they were given. But also makes you wonder how much better could they have been if they weren't cheap. And now that they have a guy who kind of people see, it's Burrow, he can do this. Will they bend? I don't know if the ways will change.
If what if Burrow isn't as good? Like, he limped off.
You don't want
Oh,
like
he's fine.
He's getting.
They said he doesn't have to get surgery. He's just gonna recover on his own. They don't
That's
even
good.
say what it
That's
was.
great because you gotta once you. I feel like I don't know. I'm talking without injury. With the experience, like those kind of injuries, man. Like it makes me think like maybe those guys in the future will be wearing braces. Like if they've ever had an ACL, like just to help a little bit, or something. I don't know.
Then there's the also just really quick is if Burrow has another injury, God forbid, now the Bengals might not even want to pay Burrow, which would be
like the problem they caused,
Yeah.
Like,
so,
your injury problem. Well, it's like, yeah, I got sacked like 70 times. Bro.
Yeah.
What do you think's gonna happen?
Dude, if he's 99% healthy, he only needs like 30 more sacks for something to happen,
Yeah.
So
let's flip it to the Rams and then we'll wrap up the podcast. On the flip side, the Rams have a lot of veterans, but they had a lot of one-year deals. Odell Beckham, Von Miller, and they also have Sony Michel, who's going to be a free agent, Darius Williams, free agent, a couple other guys on here. Matt Gay, the punter. Oh, can't lose him.
He's in 1 year?
What?
He's in 1 year, Matt Gay?
He's restricted, so they're probably going to
franchise. Once you have so many weird kicker. Well, so many weird kicker moments this year that to have a solid one is like no longer. Props to the NFL for making it. Before extra points and field goals were so easy to you could turn off the TV and you'd know that. Now it's like every time you're wondering like they're gonna get it, like they made it a little harder. So I like that change.
Unless it's Money Mac.
Yeah, unless you have an elite kicker, which is I think it's good.
You also have Andrew Whitworth, who's retiring most likely. He's 40 years old. He kind of alluded to it, saying that he's the oldest NFL player for now. So in a week or two, he'll probably retire.
I'm going to age down next year.
Or is he saying that he got a text from Brady and said Brady's coming back?
So, I mean, one thing that sticks out, Sony Michel, he's going to be gone.
Yeah, just
Cam Akers.
They don't even need him. They have Henderson and Akers.
The guy.
Yeah, Akers and Henderson.
It's tough. I don't know.
Michel wasn't that good. He was decent, but
I mean, the run game in the playoffs this year was really bad for the Rams. Cam Akers, he fumbled to give the Buccaneers a game-tying touchdown. They didn't really have I should check. They have actually one of the worst rushing performances in Super Bowl history.
Yeah.
So that could be an issue moving forward. If you don't have Odell, and you're going to get Robert Woods back, you'll have Cooper Kupp, Stafford. Obviously, Ramsey's still going to be there. So where do we see this team next year? Do you see them being another like division winner?
Yeah, I think they're on track to be one of the top contenders again next year. Even if Whitworth leaves, they'll find a left tackle. They know how important that position is, and they'll find a good, solid left tackle. And then on the defensive side, they'll have to re-sign Darius Williams. He was a great player for them. And then they even won the Super Bowl without, their captain on defense, Jordan Fuller, the safety. So he'll come back next year. I mean, when you think about the competition in the NFC, no offense to the NFC East and stuff, but the NFC is not great. I mean, Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, they still have a long ways to go. And the Packers with Aaron Rodgers does not seem like he's going to stay there. And then the Bucks without Brady, I mean, what quarterback can they get to make them a Super Bowl contender? And then Dak and the Cowboys can never do well in the playoffs. It's like their biggest competition is the 49ers, who are in their own division. So it's like,
or the Cardinals. Yeah.
Maybe, but then
I don't know. Cardinals have a lot of problems internally with Kyler and stuff. So to me, the top two teams in the NFC are the 49ers and the Rams. And I think the Rams have a good chance to get back to the Super Bowl next year if they can keep these guys together.
What about the Commanders?
No.
They command nothing.
No.
Command. The name is so
Giants
funny.
have a better chance than Commanders.
They can't command a lead.
It's too easy. Why do they choose such an easy? It's such low hanging fruit. You know, they call them the commies on Twitter. I'm like, come on, Washington D.C. Come on. But I respect Ron Rivera. But I mean, I'd throw up the Packers in there too, depending on how Rodgers goes down, things like that. But you're right. For so many years, the AFC was the terrible one. Like,
Yeah.
the fact that we're talking about the Bengals making it to the Super Bowl,
because
the Bills,
all the quarterbacks are retiring.
The Chiefs were consistently. Like, you go back to any of the Maddens, you would never want to play as an AFC team unless it was like one of the top. Like, there was the difference between the best and the worst in that league in that side of the league for so long was so big. It was crazy.
Yeah, everybody wanted to go to the opposite conference that Brady was in.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, I mentioned this.
It was like, what was it like? There was a Super Bowl where it was like the first one without like Roethlisberger, Manning, or Brady.
This one,
Yeah.
or the 49ers.
Or the 49ers.
Yeah.
In
So,
like the
that's
last 10 years.
In 20 years, I believe it or not.
That's crazy.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
We have had no parity in our lifetime. Brady ruined it for us.
Yeah.
I rewatched the Eagles Super Bowl win yesterday, so I'm feeling good.
That's nice. That's nice to have.
So congrats on the win.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go rewatch the Giants win.
Those are just to see Brady lose. I'm still gonna.
It's like Caleb didn't even watch the Super Bowl. He just put on.
Yeah. I'm gonna act like the Eagles are in it.
Let's go. The live. Yeah.
So we all see the Rams and Bengals potentially getting back to the Super Bowl within 3 years, 5 years.
I think
they'll contend. They'll both contend.
Yeah, I think they'll both can at least get to the AFC and NFC championship within the next 2 years or three at most.
I'd say 1 to 2. I wouldn't go far for it, depending on the financials for the Rams as well as Burrow's health. If they don't invest to protect him, then maybe he goes to the NFC. I don't know.
So one last thing, then we'll wrap it up. So you both see the Rams will win the division next year and the Bengals will win their division next year at the very minimum.
What are their
divisions? Yeah, I do think both teams, because Trey Lance is going to start for the 49ers. I think that's the only team that will give them a problem at the top of the division. I don't think the Cardinals will. And I think Lance, it's going to take him a few games. So he's not going to be able to win the division. I think Rams win division, and I think Bengals will win their division.
Okay.
So it's really
Caleb?
Bengals versus the Ravens is the main matchup.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that.
But the Bengals beat them twice this year.
Steelers could surprise
and put up 40 points both times. So.
Yeah, but the Ravens got to get healthy. I need to see a fully healthy Ravens.
They lost
team.
like 3 running backs, and Lamar.
True.
So Lamar had to carry. To be fair, the Steelers could be a sneak because Tomlin's still there. The defense is great. It's just
no. They need a really top. They would need to get Deshaun Watson to have a chance.
Yeah,
to win
that's my thing.
Rodgers.
But they're really good at developing wide receiver talent, and they roll a good organization, So it's like if they get a even average, I don't think it's Rudolph, but if they get an average average quarterback after Roethlisberger, that could be interesting. But
yeah, also the Browns, tough team. You got Myles Garrett, you have stars, Nick Chubb,
too. Yeah, so. They're a question mark with Mayfield, but
true.
Even then, I wouldn't, yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna wrap this up. It's our Super Bowl episode. Obviously, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button if you enjoyed. So we have a lot of content from the Airbnb that we shot when we watched the Giants versus Cowboys game. So I think what we're going to do is we may have one more episode. Or if not, we're going to start rolling out all the content that we made for that, interviewing people at the tailgate, the 2 YouTube games that we played, we'll post on here. And then our obviously how we met podcast will be a part 1 and part 2 of that. So make sure that you guys hit the subscribe button, because there's gonna be a lot of content in the off season, very different from last season where we just stopped posting. There's going to be a lot of content. So hope you guys enjoy that. And congratulations to Aiden and Harvo, who won the YouTube giveaway. Congrats to both of them. So glad that Aiden got the beanie. I mean, he's been day one for so long. He always comments on our posts. So Aiden, thank you guys so much.
Well, I don't think Aiden's listening to this because his favorite's Jonathan, so he probably doesn't care about us.
As soon as he turned it on, he's like,
Jonathan not here? I don't really need to listen to this.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Thanks, Aiden, for always watching and commenting. We appreciate it.
Yeah, for real. And then on all the other platforms too, everyone who participated, it's crazy. It was really cool to give back,
It was amazing. It was great. We had a nice live show. A lot of people joined in, gave away some gifts. So yeah, now we're into the off season, and we'll see where this takes us. So until August, we will have a bunch of debating to do. So I'm excited for that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you guys next week, hopefully. Yeah. I can't say that anymore.
I was like, yeah, maybe we'll be around. We'll be around.
We'll be around.